everyone, it's Gepston. I normally talk about Pokemon on this channel, but I'm a massive Animal Crossing fan, and the release of New Horizons Switch 2 Edition and the 3.0 update have had me thinking a lot about what's next for the Animal Crossing franchise. In today's video, I wanted to take a look at the series and share my vision for the next step after New Horizons. Now, I don't want to rehash the heaps of discourse surrounding New Horizons online, but I do think it's necessary to break down a bit of what works and what doesn't in this game if we're going to figure out where we're going next. New Horizons is an interesting topic when it comes to Animal Crossing fans because it's by far the most popular game in the franchise, but it's fairly divisive amongst the core fans. This is for a number of reasons, both large and small, but certainly a major contributing factor is the direction that New Horizons takes the series in. Whereas traditional Animal Crossing is about taking it one day at a time and watching the world unfold around you, New Horizons has a much stronger lean into player control and customization. When trying to picture the future of the series, one has to wonder how much DNA the next game will share with New Horizons. I know that some fans want to return to a more traditional feel, but New Horizons isn't just massively successful for the previously somewhat niche Animal Crossing standards. It's the 13th best-selling game in history. Animal Crossing has more eyes on it than ever before, and New Horizons is the way most people see the series. I think it's hard to walk back on that. So how do you iterate on New Horizons in a way that pleases both new and old fans without alienating part of the player base? It might sound antithetical to the problem, but I think you need to go even bigger. Hear me out. New Horizons was described in early marketing as a game where you could make your island as developed as you personally wanted, but I don't know if the final game fully delivers on that promise. It doesn't offer that many options for town customization. There are 2 shops, a museum, a campsite, and the villager homes. The 2.0 update added the roost inside the museum cafe, and a large majority of store owners from previous games now operate stands in Harv's co-op, but there's still no option to give them any sort of permanent fixture on your island. A lot of the New Horizons experience is streamlined to make things quicker and easier for players, like hair options now being selectable from a mirror instead of going to Shampoodle, or the post office being turned into a postcard kiosk in the airport. But Animal Crossing has always been first and foremost about the cast of characters that make up your town. It's nice that things are more convenient, but in the process we sacrifice some of the charm that made this series what it was in the first place. That's why I say the next step is to make things bigger. If New Horizons is the foundation we're building on, then let's take everything in New Horizons and heap on even more. I'd want this to be the Smash Ultimate of Animal Crossing games, a new game with a little bit of everything that came before. What would this souped up game look like? Here's my pitch. In this hypothetical game, you've moved into a small town looking for revitalization, and they've hired you as the new town planner. As the town planner, your role is to decide how best to develop the town. NPCs will initially have little stands in town, like New Horizons, but as you progress in the game, they'll approach Tom Nook, head of real estate company Nook Inc., to request you to design a permanent facility for them. Of course, as town planner, you decide how many of these shops you actually want to build. If you want a more classic Animal Crossing experience, maybe you only accept a few classic facilities. But if you're designing a city, for example, you could pack your town with as many facilities as can fit. Any shop that doesn't get built can still be accessed through the rotating stands. The selection would just be more limited. So, what kinds of facilities would be available to you? Stealing a move from Smash Ultimate a bit, everyone's here. Brewster runs the Roost as a standalone cafe again like a New Leaf. The post office returns with Pelly, Phyllis, and Pete. Gracie's back with her luxury fashion store Gracie Grace. Copper and Booker run the Lost and Found. Dr. Shrunk has his comedy club again. And Rossetti and Don Rossetti have a brand new reset center that fits their new role as town cleanup service. Let's inject some character into every part of this game. If you want to change your hair in a mirror because it's quick and easy, I think that should be an option, but you should also be able to get it done at Shampoodle for that more personal touch. Player choice is the name of the game here. Your town, your way. A big draw of New Horizons were the vastly different types of islands you could create. I think that should extend into the way you design your town. There's actually a perfect feature for this that multiple games already incorporate, but it's never made its way into the core gameplay. As part of the 3DS game Happy Home Designer, there were 10 facilities that you were tasked with designing. This feature then returned in the New Horizons Happy Home Paradise DLC, where you had 5 facilities to design: the school, the cafe, the restaurant, the hospital, and the apparel shop. These facilities could be decorated as you pleased, interior and exterior, and staffed with villagers. I think fusing the Happy Home facilities with the core Animal Crossing experience is the key. When NPCs request a new facility, you'll be presented with 2 options. Let's take a look, or I'll leave it up to you. If you leave the design up to the NPC, you'll get the building's pre-made design. This is for players who are less interested in the decorative aspect of the game and just want to have the character in their town. But if you choose "Let's take a look," you can tweak the interior and exterior as much as you'd like to fit your town. This way, even if a town has the exact same stores as you, they might all look completely different. And in addition to the returning NPCs with the more defined roles, I'd love new characters that each request looser, happy home style facilities. A lot of New Horizons towns have facsimiles of buildings like schools or restaurants, so why not let you build the actual thing? Perhaps Hammond the Hog requests a restaurant, and you decide if it's a snazzy jazz bar with upscale dining options or a fast casual sushi place with anime posters on the wall. Maybe Baton the Bat requests a concert hall, and your friend makes an opera house, but you make a local concert venue. The more options you have, the wider the variety in islands becomes. Now when you visit friends, even the shops become exciting to see, beyond just what items they have on sale. But Animal Crossing isn't just about shops and decorating. What else would this game need to stand out? The heart of the Animal Crossing series is interacting with the villagers in your town. Their dialogue's great, but when you log hundreds of hours, it all starts to blur together and get repetitive. So what else can be done with them to make them consistently fun to interact with? More minigames wouldn't hurt. Returning villager games like hide and seek, card games, and treasure hunts would be a good start. Minigames inspired by the sports fair from the GameCube games would be great too, like a few villagers getting together for a town tug-of-war or a foot race. New Horizons has lots of cool town decorations that aren't actually functional, but imagine how cool it would be if they actually were. The GameCube games had balls that would spawn around town. What if when you placed down a soccer ball, you could actually kick it around with your villagers? And then if you combine that with some nets, you could actually keep score. What if you could place down a Ferris wheel and then ride it with your friends? Or you could pop down a chessboard and play chess in the park. Part of designing your town in this game should be function, and not strictly aesthetics. This function's twofold, as it would not only give you more to do with villagers in town, but more to do in multiplayer with friends. And on that topic, let's bring back the new Leaf minigames. They were a perfect way of extending multiplayer sessions with friends when you weren't feeling like fishing and bug catching again. Beyond minigames, more events around town would help liven things up. A weekly farmer's market in the summer would be awesome. You could put up crops and cook food for sale, so there's more of a function for cooking. Villagers could put up stalls to sell secondhand furniture and clothes, kind of similar to the flea market in past games, as well as fish and bugs they've caught around town. Leaf could have a stall where he sells hybrid flowers or perfect fruits. Early in the morning, there should be town aerobics in the plaza, and if we're bringing back sports fair inspired minigames, maybe there's just a proper sports fair where you compete in all of the athletic minigames. Maybe building Dr. Shrunk's Comedy Club unlocks a weekly trivia night where you go head to head with your villagers for a prize. Life is full of these little rituals and events that we look forward to, so I think Animal Crossing should be full of those too. The Happy Home Paradise DLC had another feature I'd love to see come to town for the villagers: roommates. If two villagers get close enough as friends, they should ask you to design an apartment for them to move into together. Perhaps you have two jock villagers like Axel and Drift growing close, so you design a super sporty apartment with bunk beds and a home gym for them. Strengthening your villagers' personal connections with one another is a way of making your town feel even more alive. This might sound a little evil, but I think roommates would also be a great way of integrating some of the early series' bittersweet feeling again. Let's take our pairing of Axel and Drift, for example. Axel loves this town, but he knows that there's more for him somewhere else. He packs his bags, and Drift doesn't take it well. He spends the next week grumpy, sad, and easily agitated. Eventually he cheers up again, but every time you visit his house you see a framed picture of Axel that serves as a forever reminder of his best friend who moved away. It might even bring you closer to Drift. Animal Crossing is cute and relaxing, but what drew me to the series in the first place was the way it captured both the beauty and the loneliness of living life on your own. It's not that your neighbors had this great wealth of dialogue and now they don't. They repeated themselves plenty back in GameCube and Wild World. The difference was that the animals then had so much character because they weren't just decoration. There was a time where interacting with them was the core of the game. They had to grow to like you, and even your best friends could up and move away one day. Even if every day was fishing, bug catching, shopping, and chatting with the neighbors, life never stayed the same for too long. People came and went. Things changed. You never knew what a new day might bring. I can suggest all sorts of fun activities and cool customization ideas, but ultimately what I would want the most in a future game would be for some of the series' rough edges to return. I think the best way to make old fans truly happy would be making some villagers move away without permission again. I time traveled for the first time in Animal Crossing New Horizons, despite being a lifelong anti-time traveler, because I was never worried that my villagers would be angry with me or that my town would be overtaken by weeds. You can go years without talking to your neighbors and your town will look nearly identical when you return. I think that's why people started falling off of New Horizons. If you know that you can go months without playing and nothing will happen, what's there to encourage you to pick the game back up tomorrow? It doesn't have to go all the way back to GameCube levels of ruthlessness, but Animal Crossing is at its best when it stirs that wistful feeling inside you. These games aren't meant purely to be an escape from the world, but a reflection of it. If we can get back to that feeling, then the next game will always be a success for me. That's where I'd like to see the series go. Bigger, bolder, yet more familiar. It might sound like I'm suggesting a lot, but a ton of my ideas are things that are already implemented in the game in some fashion, and would just need some retooling to work on a larger scale. And since the dev team have highly detailed, high-definition models for thousands of items and characters, they already have a leg up this time around compared to New Horizons, where nearly everything needed to be made from scratch. I don't think it's unrealistic to expect the follow-up to the biggest game in the series to strive to be even bigger, but we'll see in time, I guess. What do you think? What would you like to see from the next game? Does it look like my vision, or completely different? Let me know in the comments. This was a different sort of video for me, straying from the Pokemon path, so let me know if you want to see more of this content in the future. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.